I woke to sunlight slipping through the blinds, coffee in hand, and an absurd sight. A pristine white BMW parked sideways across my driveway like it owned my property. For a moment, I just stared. Then I remembered who the car belonged to, Alyssa, the entitled daughter of our neighborhood's infamous HOA president, Karen. Karen was the kind of neighbor who believed every blade of grass belonged to her family. Her daughter treated my driveway as if it were an extension of their garage. At first, I tried to handle it calmly. A polite knock. A friendly request. Could you please move your car? I've got to get to work. Alyssa would answer with a bored smirk, a little eye roll, and a line like, "It's only for a minute. Chill." Then the slam of a door. The first couple of times I accepted it as thoughtlessness. But when the days turned into weeks and the BMW became a fixture that trapped me in my home, made me late to appointments, and forced me to take ride shares, it stopped being careless and started to feel like a pattern, deliberate, entitled, and aggressively disrespectful. Underneath her bratty behavior was Karen's influence. I could still hear her voice from an earlier confrontation, cold and unbothered. "My daughter's car can park anywhere in this neighborhood. If you don't like it, maybe you should move." That sentence lodged in my head like a splinter. Maybe you should move. The gall of it. I had paid for this house, followed the covenants, and fixed the yard. Yet rules seemed selectively enforced when the Karen family was involved. The idea that we, the people who lived and worked here, should rearrange our lives because of their whims was infuriating. One evening after another day, ruined by being blocked in, I came home more furious than usual. The BMW sat under the streetlight, glinting as if to mock me. That's when a ridiculous idea planted itself in my brain. I wasn't going to call the HOA or leave passive-aggressive notes or tow the car. I wanted something bigger. A move that would make Alyssa and her mother remember. Dramatic but harmless. Clever enough to fit the insult. If Alyssa loved making my driveway her personal lot, fine. I would make the car part of the property in a way she'd never expect. Not ruined, not vandalized, but transformed. I pictured the BMW converted into something so absurd the whole block would talk about it. A backyard pool. It sounded insane. Impossible. But the more I stared, the more the image felt right. A luxury car turned into a tiny, ridiculous water feature. Permanent, ironic, and humiliating in the best possible way. That night, I sketched ideas like a movie director planning a stunt. I knew two things. I couldn't rely on the HOA to take action, and my plan had to stop short of anything illegal. Theater, not trespass. The balance between audacity and safety occupied my mind. The next morning, I began watching the rhythm of the street carefully, not stalking, just noting schedules. Alyssa left each morning like clockwork and returned at dusk. Most neighbors kept their heads down. Some silently sided with me, while others clearly feared Karen's wrath. Once I understood the neighborhood's cadence, logistics started to make sense. I kept the specifics intentionally vague. This is a story, not a blueprint for mischief. What I will say is I gathered harmless, everyday items, heavy tarps, an old kiddie pool, faded pool noodles from thrift stores, weatherproof tape, and a few novelty floats. I joked to myself that this would become the BMW's retirement home. Over the next weekend, I waited for the right moment. Heart racing and oddly excited, because sometimes the only way to correct someone's arrogance is with a little theatrical creativity and neighbors who stopped pretending nothing was wrong. I brought one unlikely partner into the plan, Marco, the quiet landscaper 2 doors down. He'd spent years under Karen's thumb, suffering through her nitpicky yard citations, and he hated her rules as much as I did. Marco had the muscle and steady nerves while I had the burning determination. We picked our moment carefully, a weekend when Karen was conveniently out of town, according to the neighborhood gossip mill. The night before, Marco and I parked a few blocks away, whispering through the sequence like a pair of stagehands rehearsing a play. Move quickly, stay quiet. Don't attract eyes. Even with planning, my hands shook as we approached the BMW. That smug white car sat there gleaming like a trophy under the streetlight, daring me to act. Every tiny clink of metal, every shift of the tarp felt like an alarm bell that might wake the whole street. My chest grew heavy with guilt for a moment. Was this too far? But then Karen's voice echoed in my head. Maybe you should move. That reminder erased hesitation. Marco's calm expression kept me focused. This wasn't about cruelty. We weren't damaging property or putting anyone in danger. This was about sending a message. Loud, absurd, unforgettable. Through the night, we improvised. Adjustments were constant, but we stuck to the rules we'd set. No harm, no risk, only spectacle. By the time the sky turned gray, we stepped back, breathless, staring at our work. It wasn't flawless. It wasn't destructive either, but it was spectacularly ridiculous. Alyssa's BMW had been transformed into a sight so bizarre it looked like something from a comedy sketch. For the first time in weeks, I felt satisfied. The stage was set. The next morning dawned calm, almost mocking. Birds chirped. Sprinklers hissed. My heart pounded in my throat as Karen's SUV finally rolled back into the neighborhood. Alyssa sat in the passenger seat, sunglasses on, scrolling through her phone without a care in the world. She hadn't even looked toward my driveway yet. I stood on my porch with a steaming cup of coffee, trying to look casual while adrenaline made my hands shake. Marco had wisely retreated to his own yard, leaving me alone as the curtain lifted. The SUV stopped. Alyssa hopped out, tossing her hair like it was just another morning. Then she turned toward the driveway and froze. Her jaw dropped. Her phone clattered to the ground. Because where her BMW once sat in smug arrogance, there now stood a cartoonish masterpiece, a BMW-turned swimming pool. Tarps stretched across the frame, edges sealed with duct tape, and water shimmered inside, filled from a garden hose all night long. Neon flamingo and donut floaties bobbed on the surface, a rubber duck drifting lazily across what used to be her leather seats. Karen's reaction was explosive. She screeched so loud, I swear windows rattled 3 streets over. "What did you do to my daughter's car?" She wailed, arms flailing like a conductor in a storm. Alyssa collapsed into dramatic sobs on the curb, mascara streaking her face as she cried, "He destroyed my Beamer!" All eyes turned toward me. I raised my cup and took a calm sip. "Actually," I said evenly, "I just gave it an upgrade. Everyone needs a pool these days." By then, neighbors were pouring out. Curtains twitched. Garage doors lifted. A small crowd gathered, whispers buzzing like bees. "That's Alyssa's car. Did you see it? Oh my God, it's a pool." Phone snapped photos. Videos rolled. Within minutes, the story had already spun out of my hands. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was destined to go viral. Karen stormed toward me, shrieking threats about the HOA, the police, and how I would regret ever crossing her family. But the angrier she got, the more people laughed. Neighbors pointed, chuckled, shook their heads. The absurdity of a luxury car filled with water, a pink flamingo bobbing behind the windshield, was too much. Some kids darted forward, dipping their hands into the pool water. "Mom, can we swim in it?" One shouted, sparking another wave of laughter. Eventually, the police arrived. Karen had called them repeatedly, her voice climbing several octaves with each frantic report. When the officer stepped out of his cruiser, he froze, taking in the sight of the BMW pool. His lips twitched as he tried to hold back a grin. Karen unleashed her tirade, demanding my arrest. When it was my turn to explain, I calmly laid out the truth. Alyssa had been blocking my driveway daily. I had asked politely, been ignored, and even mocked. And then I added the line that sealed the deal. "I didn't damage the car. I just added water. She can drain it whenever she wants." The officer actually chuckled. "Well," he said, scratching his head, "this looks more like a prank than a crime. Not really my department." Karen nearly fainted from outrage. Alyssa wailed harder. And the crowd roared with laughter. In that moment, I knew no fine, no empty threat. No HOA rule could undo the humiliation they were drowning in. As I turned to walk back inside, coffee still warm in my hand, I thought, justice doesn't always come from punishment. Sometimes it comes from creativity, the kind that leaves everyone else laughing for years. So, if you enjoyed this wild HOA saga, make sure to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss the next outrageous story.